Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 109b, top of the page, with the words Amar of Nachman. Amar of Nachman, Mina la, Titania, Kohen Shabbat Avodah Zareh, Vishav Korban Orech Nichoyach. Rav Nachman said, from where do I say that even a priest who intentionally slaughters an idolatrous offering is nevertheless fit to serve in the temple if he repents? As it is taught in a Braita with regard to a priest who served in idol worship and repented, his offering in the temple is an aroma pleasing to the Lord and is acceptable. Rav Nachman clarifies, in what manner did he serve in idol worship? If we say that he served in idol worship unwittingly, what does the Braita mean when it says, and he repented? He's already repentant, as he never intended to sin in the first place. Look, if someone does something b'shogeg, they still have to repent. I don't see what the question here is. If he did it b'shogeg, a person still needs to repent. So what's the Gemara asking here? But they're saying if he repented, then he doesn't have to repent because he didn't mean to do it. You never say, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's like you bump into somebody, that's b'shogeg. You don't say to that person, I'm sorry. You have to repent still. You didn't mean to, but you still have to repent. What are they saying here? Okay, continue. What does the Braita mean? And he repented. Okay. Rather, it is obvious that the Braita is referring to a case of intentional idol worship. And if the Braita is referring to sprinkling the blood of an idolatrous offering when he repents, what of it? Hasn't he performed idolatrous service, thereby disqualifying himself from serving in the temple in any event? Rather, is it not referring to the slaughter of an idolatrous offering? Evidently, even if the priest slaughtered it intentionally, once he repents, he is fit to serve in the temple. Rav Sheshes Amar Lach L'Oilam B'Shoigeg V'Achi Kamar Im Shav Mikaro Tichiyava B'Shoigeg Avad Korban Orech Nichoach Im Lav Ein Korban Orech Nichoach. And as for Rav Sheshet, he could have said to you that actually the Braita is referring to unwitting slaughter, and this is what the Braita is saying. If the priest is repentant from the outset, as when he served in idol worship, he served unwittingly, then his offering is a pleasing aroma pleasing to the Lord, and is acceptable. But if not, meaning, if he slaughtered an idolatrous offering intentionally, his subsequent offering in the temple is not a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Of course not. Why would you think it is? I don't see why he has to say that. Hashtal Avodah Zareh. Rav Nachman Amar Korban Orech Nichoach. Rav Sheshes Amar Ein Korban Orech Nichoach. Hoidal Avodah Zareh. Rav Nachman Amar Korban Orech Nichoach. Rav Sheshes Amar Ein Korban Orech Nichoach. The Gemara lists other similar disagreements between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshet. In a case where a priest bowed to an object of idol worship, Rav Nachman says, if he subsequently repents and he serves in the temple, his offering is an aroma pleasing to the Lord. And Rav Sheshet says his offering is not an aroma pleasing to the Lord. In a case where a priest acknowledges an object of idol worship as a divinity, Rav Nachman says if he subsequently repents and serves in the temple, his offering is an aroma pleasing to the Lord. And Rav Sheshet says his offering is not an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Kamaisa be'aykomar Rav Sheshes mishum davar le'sherus. Aval shchita lo yavad le'sherus. Emoida le'Rav Nachman. Having listed 4 similar disputes between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes, namely, with regard to a priest who unwittingly sprinkled the blood of an idolatrous offering, and a priest who intentionally slaughtered an idolatrous offering, a priest who bowed to an idol, and a priest who acknowledged an idol as a divinity. The Gemara explains, And it was necessary to teach the dispute with regard to all 4 cases. As had the sages taught us only the first case, where a priest sprinkles the blood of an idolatrous offering unwittingly, one might have thought that only in that case Rav Sheshet says that the priest's subsequent service in the temple is disqualified because he performed a service for idolatry that is considered a sacrificial rite in the temple. But in a case where the priest merely performed slaughter, since he did not perform a service for idolatry that is a sacrificial rite in the temple, there is room to say that Rav Sheshet concedes to the opinion of Rav Nachman. Mishum diavole avoidam, avanistach v'lo avole avoidam, emeloi tzericham. And have the sages taught us only the dispute with regard to a priest intentionally performing slaughter for an idolatrous offering, one might have thought that Rav Sheshet says that a priest's subsequent service in the temple is disqualified because he performed the sacrificial rite for idolatry. But if he merely bowed to the idol, since he did not perform a sacrificial rite for idolatry, there is room to say that Rav Sheshet does not disqualify the priest's subsequent service in the temple. Therefore, it was necessary to teach this case as well. And had the sages taught us only the case of a priest bowing to an idol, one might have thought that in this case Rav Sheshet says that a priest's subsequent service in the temple is disqualified because he performed an action for idolatry. But if he only acknowledged the idol as a divinity, which is mere speech, there is room to say that Rav Sheshet does not disqualify the priest's subsequent service in the temple. The Gemara concludes, therefore, it was necessary to teach this case as well. Vein tzorich lo yimal davar acher v'chulei. B'yit gomen tzorich lo yimal davar acher miklal lebeis chonyo l'avod ezahu. The Mishnah teaches, and needless to say, although we'll say it anyway, and needless to say, if priests served for something else, meaning idolatry, they are disqualified from service in the temple. The Gemara comments from the fact that it says, needless to say, if they served for something else, by inference, the temple of Onias is not a temple of idol worship, but rather a temple devoted to the worship of God, just not in the right place. Tanya, Kiman Diamon Beis Chanyo, Lamvoid Ezara, who did Tanya, Oisa Shana, Shebeis Shimon Azadik, Amar Lehen, Shana Zo, who met, Amulo, Minayat Yodea, Amar Lehen, Kol Yom Kippurim Nizdameni, Zagin Echad. כל יום כיפורים נזם לי זגנך לבוש לבונים וניסתם לבונים נכנסים ויוצאים שנה זו נזם לי זגנך בלבוש שחוירים וניסתם שחוירים נכנסים ולא יוצאים. Okay, it is taught in Brighton, like the one who says the temple of Onias is not a temple of idol worship, as it is taught. During the year in which Shimon HaTzadik died, he said to his associates, this year that he will die. Meaning this year, meaning himself. Shimon said that he will die this year. Why? He said to him, from where do you know? So Shimon HaTzadik said to them, in previous years, every Yom Kippur, upon entering the Holy of Holies, I had a prophetic vision in which I would be met by an old man who was dressed in white, and his head was wrapped in white. And he would enter the Holy of Holies with me, and he would leave with me. But this year, I was met by an old man who was dressed in black, and his head was wrapped in black. And he entered the Holy of Holies with me, but he did not leave with me. Shimon HaTzadik understood this to be a sign that his death was impending. Liachar haregel chala Shivas Yamim V'Meis. V'nimnu Echav HaKohanim Milvarech B'Shem. Indeed, after the pilgrimage festival of Sukkot, he was ill for 7 days and then passed away. And his fellow priests refrained from reciting the priestly benediction with the ineffable name of God. Bishas Petiro Asem Lehem Chonyo Bini Yishamesh Tachti Nikane Boshim Yechav She'agadol Mimenu Shtei Shanim U'Mechza Omer lo Bo V'alametcha Seder Avoda Hilbisho Be'unkeli Yichagro Be'tziltzol Hemido Etzel Mizbeach והעמידו את המזבח. אומר לו לך וכהנים רומן נדר זה. וקיים להבותו. אותו היום שהשתמש בכהונה גדולה אלבוש באונקלה שליחי ואחגור בצלצלו שליחי. So, seems like some devious behavior went on here. So at the time of his death, meaning Shimon HaTzadik, he said to the sages, Onias Chonyo, my son will serve as high priest in my stead. So Shimi, Onias' brother, became jealous of him, as Shimi was 2.5 years older than him. But apparently Shimon thought that Onias was more worthy of it, but no matter. So Shimi became jealous, and he said, and treacherously, Shimi said to Onias, come, I will teach you the order of the service of the high priest. Shimi dressed Onias in a tunic and girdled him with a ribbon as a belt, not in the vestments of the high priest, and stood him next to the altar. Shimi said to the Sofer priest, look what this man vowed and fulfilled for his beloved. That he said to her, on the day that I serve in the high priesthood, I will wear your tunic and gird your ribbon. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe that was a no-no. I'm guessing that was a bad thing. Otherwise, it wouldn't be treacherous. Okay, so Shimi said to look at what this man vowed for his beloved, that he said to her, on the day that I serve the high priest, I will wear your tunic and gird your ribbon. Okay, maybe that was the wrong thing to do. I'm not sure why. But anyway, Bikshu Achav HaKohanim Lehorgo. רץ מפניהם רצו אחריו, הלך לאלכסנדריה של מצרים, ובנה שם מזבח. והעליו, fly here. No. I see what happened. Okay, so basically, Shimi did something, whatever he did, he gave him some garments that were disgraceful. And in those days, apparently, the Kohanim were like murderously zealous. And if they saw something wrong, they wanted to kill the guy. So basically, that's what happened. So Onias' older brother Shimi just, did a not nice thing because of jealousy, and he gave him the wrong thing, and then the fellow priests. Okay, so let's finish this line in Aramaic, and I'll say it in English. Bikshu Echav HaKohanim L'Alevim V'Ratzu L'Achav V'Halach LeAlexandria Shel Mitzrayim U'Bana Shem Mizbeach V'Hera Alav V'Shulman V'Hera. כששמעו חכמים בדבר, אמרו מה זה שלא ירד לה, כך היורד לה, על החזקה וגם הדברי רבי מאיר. The fellow priest of Onias wanted to kill him because he had disgraced the temple service with his garments. Onias ran away. I'm not sure why he couldn't say, this is what Shimi told me to do. I don't know why maybe he didn't have a chance to say anything. Onias ran away from them, and they ran after him. And he went to Alexandria in Egypt and built an altar there and sacrificed offerings upon it for the sake of idol worship. When the sages heard of the matter, they said, if this person, Shimi, who did not enter the position of high priest, acted with such jealousy, all the more so will one who enters the prestigious position rebel if that position is taken away from him. This is the statement of Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir, the temple of Onias was built for idol worship. Okay. Amar lo Rabbi Yehuda, lo kach haya maaseh, And Rabbi Yehuda says it didn't even happen like this. This whole thing may not even been true. Lo kach haya ma'aseh ela lo kibel alav chonyo שהיה שמייך אחיו גדול ממנו 2 שנים ומחצה. יאף על פי כן נתקנא בו חוניו בשמייך אחיו. אמר לו, בא ולמד חסיד הביתה והלבישו באונקלי וחגרו בצלצול והעמידו אצל מזבח. אמר להם מלך הכהנים ולאומן נטל זה וקיים עליו לאהובתו. אותו היום שימש בכהונה גדולה אלבוש באונקלי שליחי וירקוד בצלצולי שליחי. But Yehuda said to him, the incident was not like this. Rather, Onias did not accept the position of high priest because his brother Shimi was 2.5 years older than him. So Shimi was appointed high priest. And even though Onias himself offered the position to Shimi, Onias was jealous of his brother Shimi. Onias said to Shimi, "Come, I will teach you the order of the service of the high priest." And Onias dressed Shimi in a tunic and girded him in a ribbon and stood him next to the altar. Onias said to his fellow priest, "Look what this man Shimi vowed and fulfilled for his beloved, that he said to her, on the day that I served in the high priesthood, I'll wear a tunic and gird your ribbon." And then the same thing happened. Bikshu Kohanim Nehargo, so then his fellow priests wanted to kill Shimi. Just the opposite, they wanted to kill Shimi. Bikshu Kohanim Nehargo Sach Lahem Kol HaMeora. Bikshu Harog Es Chonyo Ras Bibnehem Viratzu Acharav. Ratz to Beit HaMelech ורצו אחריו כל הרואה אותו, אומר זהו, הלך לאלכסנדריה של מצרים, ובנה שם מזבח, והעלה לשם שמיים, שנאמר, והיה ביום ההוא, יהיה מזבח לשם לצורך את ארץ מצרים, ומצבה אצל גבולה השם. His fellow priest wanted to kill Shimi, and Shimi then told the entire incident, that he had been tricked by his brother Onias. So the priest wanted to kill Onias. Onias ran away from them, and they ran after him. Onias ran to the palace of the king, and they ran after him. Anyone who saw him would say, this is him, and he was not able to escape unnoticed. Onias went to Alexandria, Egypt. I guess he got away from them. And he built an altar there, and he sacrificed offerings upon it for the sake of heaven. As it is stated, in that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at its border to the Lord. Isaiah 19:19. According to Yehuda, the temple of Onias was dedicated to the worship of God. וכששמעו חכמים בדבר, אמרו, ומה זה שברח ממנה כך, מבקש לירד לה, הלך כמה וכמה. And when the sages heard of the matter, they said, if this one, Onias, who fled from the position of high priest and offered it to his brother, still was overcome with such jealousy to the point where he tried to have Shimi killed, all the more so will one who wants to enter a prestigious position to be jealous of the one who already has that position. Tanya, Amar Rav Yehoshua ben Prachia, Betchila, Kol HaOmer Alei La, Ani Kofto Venotno Livnei Ha'ari. Ata Kol HaOmer Liyared Mimena Ani Metil Alav Kumkum Shel Chamin. As a corollary to the statement of the sages with regard to one who is jealous and wants the position of another, it is taught in a Braita that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Parachia said, initially, in response to anyone who would say to me, ascend to the position of Nasi, I would tie him up and place in front of him I would place him in front of a lion out of anger for his suggestion. Is this just an expression? Yeah, it must be just an expression. Now that I've become a Nasi, in response to anyone who tells me to leave the position, I would throw a kettle of boiling water at him out of anger at his suggestion. Wow, such a harsh response. How intense is that? Even if it's just an expression, you don't hear that today. I would tie him up and put him in front of a lion for even suggesting. Now that I am a Nasi, I would throw a kettle of boiling water at him out of anger at his position. Can you imagine a rabbi saying that today? Okay, Shaul barach mimena because Rabbi Gesharo against David. It is human nature that after one ascends to a prestigious position, he does not wish to lose it. As evidence of this principle, Saul initially fled from the kingship, as he did not wish to be king. As it is stated in the verse, when they sought him, he could not be found, because he was hiding in the baggage. Nechba el kelim. Behold, he has hidden himself among the baggage. 1 Samuel 10, 21 and 22. But when he ascended to the kingship, he tried to kill David, who he thought was trying to usurp his authority. See 1 Samuel chapters 18 through 27. Amar le Markashisha berei Rabbi Chizda le Abaye, Rabbi Meir, Hai kra Rabbi Yehuda mai avile. Markashisha, son of Rabbi Chizda, said to Abaye, what does Rabbi Meir do with this verse of Rabbi Yehuda? Since Rabbi Meir holds that the temple of Onias was dedicated to idol worship, how does he explain the verse in Isaiah? L'cheditanya yachad mipalto shel Sancheriv yatsa Chizkiyo matza b'nei melachim shehayu yoshvim mikoranos shel zahav hadiron shelo לעבוד עבודה זרה שנאמר ביום ההוא יהיו 5 ערים בארץ מצרים ידברו שפת כנען. Abaye answered Markashisha and said that Rabbi Meir uses this verse for that which is taught in Braita after the downfall of Sancheriv, the king of Assyria who besieged Jerusalem. See 2 Kings chapter 18 and 19. King Hezekiah emerged from Jerusalem and found the Gentile princes Sancheriv had brought with him from his other conquests, sitting in carriages of gold. He made them vow that they would not worship idols, and they fulfilled their vow. As it is stated in Isaiah's prophecy about Egypt, in that day there shall be 5 cities in the land of Egypt that speak the language of Canaan. To be continued. It's interesting.